This takes work, and it's serious, but it's the most liberating thing you'll ever do. To go through something like that is not something I hope upon anyone, but it brought me down to the bottom level, and it took me up to the highest level. It's challenging. The Camino of our lives, they're challenging, but it's by walking that challenge and being true to it with an open heart that we receive those benefits. People come up to me all the time and ask, well, what's the quickest and simplest thing I can do to begin to wake up? And the answer is to spend time every day walking around wherever you live, wherever you work, and looking at everyone who passes, either walking or in a car, and seeing them as love. Within 5 minutes, I promise, you're going to feel your heart and your whole soul begin to expand. And the reason that happens is because what you're seeing, what you're choosing, is true. Each one of them, has a part to play in this awakening. And if I'm willing to look through, okay, I'll just say the word, Donald Trump. If I'm willing to look through the appearance and see only the divine in him, who's set free by that? Me. I'm set free by that. If I can make a habit of doing that with everyone that I meet, I'm going to find myself just instantly lifted into that experience because it's true. The problem is the ego wants so many things. Your soul only wants one thing. And the ego and the soul each have a mantra. The ego's mantra is I want. The soul's mantra is I am. And when you can focus everything into that one experience, that one statement, I am that, then you realize you've always been that, and everything else goes crashing away, and you find yourself in the heaven you never left except in your imagination.
But how are you cracked open?
Oh, I'm continually getting cracked open, and often it's through trauma, often it's through difficulty. We don't tend to get cracked when everything is going our way. We tend to crack open when things aren't going our way. For me, probably the most profound was 14 years ago, just a couple of days ago was the anniversary on Thanksgiving. My former wife, Linda, was murdered in Chicago. And it was at a time when we were possibly getting back together, and it was a great trauma for our daughter and I, and for everyone who loved her. And my goodness, to go through something like that, not something I hope upon anyone, but it brought me down to the bottom level, and it took me up to the highest level. And that's what can happen if we surrender to it, if we give everything to those situations.
What does that mean?
It means the only way out is in. You can't spiritual your way around things like that. You have to cry, you have to feel, you need to go into it as deep as you can. In fact, I remember a very dear friend of mine is Neil Donald Walsh, and when Linda was killed, he came to Chicago, he stood at my side the whole time, and at one point someone said something to me like, when you get over this, and I said, this is not the kind of thing you get over. And Neil turned to me and said, that's right, you'll never get over this. However, there will come a day where it's no longer over you. And that has stayed with me my whole life, and it's so true. Anyone who's been through a trauma like that knows you never get over it. You never stop missing that person. But there comes a moment when you have gone deep enough and you felt it deep enough that it's like a cloud that suddenly is no longer over the top of you.
When you say you've got to go through it, you've got to go into it, the concept of walking really strongly comes to mind. So it was 2004. I had a dream. I sold all my track gear and went to Portland, Oregon. Started my bike ride, 40-day, 5,000 miles solo unsupported across the country. I call it road magic. And I went with no money, with no resources. It all came to me. It was so much magic and so much freaking difficulty. I will not kid you. For the first 10 days, there was a calamity or what appeared to be a tragedy each and every day, until I learned, they didn't stop, that those were actually the gifts.
No Camino is supposed to be easy. It's challenging. The Camino of our lives, they're challenging. But it's by walking that challenge and being true to it with an open heart that we receive those benefits. And the spiritual journey is not one for lukewarm people or people who are just out for to go to church on Sunday. This takes work, and it's serious, but it's the most liberating thing you'll ever do.
Is there something you recommend for people to help get ourselves into this state?
Your desire. That's the key. You have to want this, I shouldn't even say more than anything. It would be more true to say the only thing. People say sometimes, how can I desire something I already am? But the truth is, you don't believe that. You don't believe you are that, because if you did believe it, you would be just in this blissful experience all the time. But you have to want this. Everything you ever need will be given to you, but it has to begin with your desire. You have to want one thing, and then everything else comes to you.
I just had the most beautiful, heart-opening, heartwarming interview with James F. Twyman on Giovanni and the Camino of St. Francis. To check out more inspiring interviews, click here, subscribe below, and click on the bell icon to be notified of upcoming shows. Love you guys.